You ever wonder what it's like to be built for only one job? Like, imagine if your entire body was engineered to be perfect at one thing and absolutely terrible at everything else. That's a polar bear. These things are basically walking paradoxes. They're the largest land carnivores on Earth, some of them weighing over 1,500 pounds. But here's the weird part. They're lazy as hell. And I mean that scientifically. They'll sit motionless on ice for 14 hours straight, waiting for a seal to poke its head up through a breathing hole. Just waiting. Not moving. Barely breathing. And when that moment comes, explosion. They accelerate like they've been holding back for a decade. Polar bears have white fur, right? Everyone knows that. But here's what's crazy. The fur isn't actually white. It's transparent. Each hair is hollow, and when light hits it, the hair scatters the light and makes it look white. But here's the kicker. The skin underneath is black. Pure black. This is on purpose. The black skin absorbs heat from the sun. The transparent, hollow hairs trap that heat, and suddenly, the polar bear is basically a solar panel walking around on ice. And that's just the fur. Their paws, enormous, padded feet with little bumps on the bottom that work like cleats on ice. They can walk on surfaces so slippery that any other animal would be sliding everywhere. They're also incredible swimmers. They can paddle for days at a time, sometimes covering over 60 miles in a single journey, through freezing water that would kill most mammals in minutes. Under all that fur is a layer of blubber that can be 4 inches thick. 4 inches. That's basically wearing a wetsuit made of pure fat, except it's part of your body. And this fat isn't just insulation, it's fuel. It stores energy for months. A polar bear can go without eating for extended periods and survive on pure body reserves. Oh, and their liver produces vitamin A in massive amounts. If you ate polar bear liver, you'd die. Your body can't handle that much vitamin A at once. The polar bear, no problem. Their whole biology is just different. Here's where it gets wild. A polar bear's entire life revolves around seals. Ringed seals, mostly. And not because they particularly enjoy hunting. It's because it's the only meal worth their effort in the Arctic. A single seal can provide enough calories to fuel a polar bear for several days. One seal. But here's the thing. Catching a seal is stupidly hard. A polar bear's success rate is around 15%. That means for every 6 seals they try to hunt, they might catch 1. So they wait. They'll sit by a breathing hole, a tiny opening in the ice where seals come up for air, and they'll wait for hours, sometimes the whole day. They can smell a seal from over a mile away, which sounds impressive until you realize that in the Arctic, a mile away is basically close range. When a seal finally surfaces, it takes less than a second. The polar bear has to be perfectly positioned and move faster than anything that size should be able to move. Some polar bears learn to time their attacks based on the breathing patterns of individual seals. They're not just strong, they're tactical. And that's just regular hunting. Some polar bears have learned to hunt from underwater, swimming up beneath breathing holes and launching themselves out of the water like submarines with teeth. Others have figured out how to break into seal dens under the ice. These are problem solvers. They're intelligent in a way that's honestly kind of unsettling for something so powerful. Now let's talk about the cutest nightmare fuel you'll ever see. Polar bear cubs. A newborn polar bear cub weighs about 1 pound. 1 pound. That's smaller than a guinea pig. The mother gives birth in a snow den during the brutal Arctic winter, and somehow this tiny, defenseless creature survives. The mother stays in the den for months without eating. She's living off her body reserves, producing milk for cubs that can barely move. The cubs have their eyes closed for the first month. They're completely helpless. All they do is eat and sleep. But here's the thing. When they emerge in spring, they're already trained for survival. They watch their mother hunt. They learn by copying. By the time they're a year old, they're following her across ice sheets and learning the rhythm of the seasons. By the time they're 2 or 3 years old, they're starting to hunt on their own. And the bond between mother and cub? It's intense. The mother is absurdly protective. She'll charge anything that gets near her babies, and she can run up to 40 miles per hour. A grizzly bear would think twice about messing with a mother polar bear protecting cubs.
Cubs actually play. Like, genuinely play. They wrestle with each other, slide on ice, explore their environment. There are videos of young polar bears seeming to play with snow, just pushing it around for no apparent reason other than curiosity. Which is kind of insane, because in the Arctic, curiosity can kill you. But there they are, playing anyway. How they actually survive. The survival strategy is brutally simple. Build massive fat reserves during the seal hunting season, then coast through the leaner times. In spring and early summer, when seals are giving birth, polar bears go into overdrive. They're hunting constantly, eating seal after seal, packing on weight. A polar bear can gain 100 pounds in a single month during peak hunting season. Then, as ice breaks up and conditions change, the bears adapt. Some will scavenge whale carcasses left behind by indigenous hunters. Some will eat vegetation, beluga whales, walrus, though hunting walrus is incredibly dangerous, or literally anything else they can find. They're not picky when they're hungry. And here's something wild. Polar bears don't actually hibernate like other bears. They go into something called torpor, which is kind of like hibernation's lazy cousin. Their metabolism slows down, they move less, they conserve energy. But they're not fully asleep. They can wake up if they need to. Pregnant females do go into proper dens and give birth, but other bears? They might just find a spot and basically slow down their entire body for months. It's like putting your phone on extreme battery saver mode, except you're a 1.5 ton animal in the middle of the Arctic. The sensory arsenal. A polar bear's nose is absolutely bonkers. They can smell a seal's breathing hole from over a mile away. But it's not just smell, it's a complete sensory package. Their hearing is incredible. Their eyesight is actually comparable to humans, which is weird because you'd expect them to see better in the dark. They use a combination of all these senses to hunt, but honestly, the nose is the MVP. Their whiskers are sensitive enough to detect slight changes in water currents. Their paws have touch-sensitive nerve endings. The polar bear is basically a predator that's been fine-tuned to detect every possible change in their environment. They're walking lie detectors for seal movement. The mystery and the magic. What's crazy is how much we still don't fully understand about polar bears. We know they're incredible survivors, but the specifics of how they navigate, how they find their way across featureless ice, how they know where seals are going to surface, there are still pieces of the puzzle we're figuring out. Some researchers think they use Earth's magnetic field to navigate. Others think they follow wind patterns and animal signs we can't even detect. The truth is, a polar bear in the Arctic is doing things we can barely comprehend with the technology we have. They're curious too. Young bears especially will investigate anything strange in their environment. They're not just killing machines. They're intelligent, curious, problem-solving animals living in one of the most extreme environments on the planet. And somehow, through all the brutality and cold and constant hunting, they survive. They thrive. They raise cubs. They adapt. They're basically the perfect animal for a job that should be impossible. That's the real story of the polar bear. Not a victim of anything. Just an absolute apex predator that's figured out how to own an entire frozen continent. Pretty cool, if you think about it.